not to whatever it is it 36 or 53, whatever it is, ill-defined and entities that simply have no legal standing. Let's move away a little bit.
I'd just like to check this in before we move on. 1993, you made your first trip to Ghana, what you describe as the lowest point in your life.
Yeah.
2003, 10 years later, you went back to Ghana as a representative of the president of your country.
Yes.
Can you put this into perspective?
It's an amazing thing. It's just prophetic, sweetheart. It's just prophetic because when I went in 1993, it was December 1993, and I remember vividly because they brought me out before the whole church, and the bishop, as he then was, said that this is a young lawyer from Nigeria, one of the best young lawyers in Nigeria, but the devil is trying to play all kinds of tricks with him, and that we're going to pray for him now as a church, and he said that anything that wants to come against him should come through us first, and that's what we're going to do. And they all prayed. I was so touched. That was December 1993. 10 years later, December 2003, by prophetic design, I happened, Mr. President asked me to go and represent him at the same church, all right? Because the bishop was now elevated to the position of an archbishop. People came from all over the world, from America, Europe. It was a very big occasion. The president of Ghana was there. Some other presidents were there. Our president couldn't make it because Queen Elizabeth was coming, I think, to Nigeria or something like that. So, but he asked me to represent him there. So I was at the same pulpit where they prayed for me 10 years earlier, to the month. And when I finished delivering the president's message, our president's message, I told them, that look, this is a remarkable testimony, and it's just by, do you want to go inside? You all right?
Inside.
Okay, you better go inside, sweetheart. Okay, well done, huh? Okay, sorry, bye. Bye for now. Close the door properly, okay? That it was just by the orchestration of the Holy Spirit that 10 years later that I am there representing the most powerful man on the African continent. And that goes to show you, and of course the Archbishop now said he knew where I would be 10 years ago, where I'd be today, and he said he knows where I'll be 10 years from now. He said, he said, I told you this would happen. You just wait to see. There's a lot more to come. There's no man of destiny that will not go through challenges, and you cannot have a message unless you have been through a mess. Without a mess, you can't have a message. Without a test, you can't have a testimony. You understand? So it's good sometimes to have a difficult period. And like, Charlie Boy was saying earlier, it's not what you go through that matters. It's whether you come out of it. Yeah. Whether you come out of it stronger. And that which does not destroy you can only serve to make you stronger. So we thank God for everything.
Now, I've been following you, some of the interviews you had, and I see you talk with so much passion, especially when it comes to issues, surrounding your boss. And I wonder whether some of your colleagues share the same passion with you.
You have to ask them that. No, I think by and large, people come into government and into politics for different reasons. I'm the kind of person that was taught and brought up on the principle that you have to be totally loyal. Otherwise, you just don't play ball at all. You just don't get involved. You've got to be totally loyal to your boss through thick and thin. And I happen to have a boss who has taken me like his own son. It's a privilege. It really is a privilege. Before I came into government, the way the president has taken me, has imbued confidence in me, has opened up, so many things to me, and I've learned so much from it. And I think most important of all is this. I was, like I said earlier, I was brought up in a very conservative family who, my father believed passionately in the unity of Nigeria, in joining hands with people from the East. He was leader of the NCNC, leader of opposition SCC for the Western region for some time. He was known to want to build bridges with the North, and indeed he did. And we went through a lot of persecution in the southwestern part of the country for that, because we were diametrically opposed to the policies and views of people like Chief Awolowo, who believed in slightly different views in terms of regional power and so on and so forth. And interesting, because they all started together and they went their different ways. But anyway, I always believed in that, and I was a great conservative from a conservative family. But with all the things that happened under Abacha and before Abacha, under the annulment Babangida, the mysterious death of Abiola, the way our people were humiliated and subjected to all sorts, and I'm talking about the people of the Southwest, you know, everybody that was anybody in the Southwest was either in jail or in exile or was being hounded at that time, if you remember. And I stopped believing in Nigeria. But two things happened. The first thing was that, again, I go back to my bishop. He sat me down one day when the president came in, just after the president had been elected, and he reminded me, he said, look, in 1997 or 1998, he went to Nigeria. He was guest of the CPM, Bishop Ezekiel of CPM Church, at a bishop's conference, and that the Lord used him to issue a prophecy. And he showed me the tape of this thing. 600 pastors and bishops were there. And the prophecy then, this was in 1997, Abacha was in full sway then. The prophecy then was that, and he knows nothing about Nigerian politics, he's a man of God. He said the prophecy then was that there's a man called Olusegun Obasanjo who is in jail right now. He's going to come out to rule Nigeria again. And that this man, God will use him, and he will rule Nigeria, be president of the country. And I saw this tape, he showed it to me, and he said, look, everybody was talking. He said the minute he issued that prophecy, he was supposed to stay till the next night. He left Nigeria that night because he didn't know whether they would come and carry him to lock him up or something like that. And he reminded me of that, and he said, look, that Obasanjo is there by divine orchestration. And so all your anti-Nigeria, anti-Obasanjo's positions can never amount to anything. And I advise you strongly to go and line up and be with this man and stop attacking him and the Nigerian state in articles and so on and so forth, because I've been getting reports that that's what you've been doing. I said, thank you very much, sir, but I don't agree. He said, it's better, and I remember the words he used, it's better for your health if you do that, if you listen to me. You won't die, but it's better for your health. It's very interesting. And he called me and my wife, because, you know, he's called me. I said, thank you very much, sir, but I'll continue. The struggle continues, that Nigeria is not a state. We'll fight the state. And Obasanjo is the living epitome of the Nigerian state. He's our enemy. I said, okay. I said, fine. Do you know what happened to me after that? Within the next 3 weeks, within 2 weeks, I had an accident. I was driving along a beach road with my car, Mercedes 500 SL, speeding with the roof off. I had an accident. The car rolled over. I almost died. Not a scratch on me. The car was a write-off. A week later, a few days later, I was driving my wife's car on another road. I had another accident. The car rolled over, I almost died. Not a scratch on me. And then a week after that, I fell ill. I was so sick, I had to go to the hospital for about 2 weeks or whatever it is. And he didn't come to see me in the hospital. He sent to me, he said, look, I told you, stop all this nonsense. So that is when I stopped and said, look, there's something about this. And then the other thing he told me was this. He said, look, when you get to Nigeria, see the man, talk to the man and see what you feel. You may change your mind. I said, I won't see him. I came back to Nigeria when I eventually, and I saw the man. And then the president himself said something to me which completely blew my mind and which just melted me. And I fell in love with him from that point. And I fell in love with the Nigerian state again from that point. Back to the conservative Femi in terms of the Nigerian state that I've been brought up to know and brought up to love. I told him, I said, we do not believe in Nigeria anymore because of the things that the Nigerian state has done to our people in the Southwest. We believe in establishing an Oduduwa Republic, and nothing can make us. And he said, why? And I said, because certain elements in the North believe that they own Nigeria and they were born to rule, and we will not accept it. He said, why do you say that? Do you think Abacha didn't afflict the North as well? Do you think Northerners did not suffer under him as well? But you're wrong. They're only looking at it from your own narrow perspective. And that the most important thing is to forgive. Even if you are right, forgive. Not only will that it's in our religious, the Lord demands for us to, one, forgive, and to start again, and to try to, ensure that the right thing is done. And that Nigeria will stand, Nigeria will not break. And learn to love the Nigeria that you once loved, that your father fought so hard for and believed so much in. And don't make the mistake that Abacha represents the North, because Abacha made people in the North suffer as well. And it sets off a process in me. I started rethinking my views, and so I've always seen him as the person that has made me fall in love with the Nigerian state again. And of course, when you fall in love passionately. And I look at some of the things I wrote and said at that time. I said, this clearly, the president said to me, he says, look, you are completely wrong, you're talking rubbish. And God will touch you and change you. I said, amen, sir. And God touched me and changed me. And I completely fell in love with the Nigerian state again.
I think to just maybe add another angle to Charlie Boy's question in terms of asking you, why you're so passionate about the president. I just want to look at it from another angle. You are the special advisor on public affairs, but sometimes one wonders where your job starts and ends, and where that of the Minister of Information starts and ends. Because I think we get
why should it start and end anywhere? What you think? What?
You especially the controversial aspects of the federal government. You seem to handle more of those issues.
Well, let me. Mine is a very peculiar office and a peculiar job, a very peculiar schedule of duties, and basically what it says and what it does is that it gives me the power to comment on any issue at all that is in the public realm, and also to speak the mind of the president on all these matters. And what you need for that is two things. One, you need to have the absolute confidence and trust of Mr. President himself, because it's such a privilege to even have access to him as much as I do. You need to understand him, you need to know him, so that when you speak, you're speaking from an informed position, and he needs to trust you absolutely. And then secondly, you need to be able to rise up and say, look, I'm ready to comment on any issue that touches and concerns my boss. My terms of reference, my schedule of duties uses the words join issues with the critics of government, the enemies of government, and defend the president. That's my job, that's what I do. I must defend him, I must defend his policies, I must defend his vision, I must defend everything about him, nationally and internationally. So it gives a lot of scope and a lot of power. You have a Minister of Information who picks and chooses his own battles and has his own style, and he's a very close friend of mine, and we work closely together.
I don't think I can recall any battles that he has.
Well, he has his own style. He has his own style. Let me put it like that. And like I said, we're very close. We're very good friends. And I must say that he's effective in his own way. Mine has a slightly different emphasis. And you also have a very distinguished distinguished lady. She's doing a great job as well. Highly respectable journalist, and she's encouraged me tremendously. Then you also have who has just he was on board before, then he went to be chairman of NDDC. My big brother Onyama Ugochukwu has come back to the villa now. He's senior specialist on public communications. He's also making his own contribution. So we all work together, and I think the more the merrier. We need to, like we said earlier, maybe we're not getting the message across about these wonderful things that this government is doing. MDs are some very close friends of mine. And I always tell them, in my view, we didn't have banks, and we don't have banks in Nigeria. So when Soludo came in and insisted on consolidation, larger banks will be able to borrow without too much stress or wahala at low interest rates. That's what this has achieved. You see, and what that means is this: if you have an idea, a vision, you want to establish something, you get your feasibility study, you go to them. Because they have the strength, they can give you the money at low interest rates. What happens today? People will have a vision, they will have an idea, which if you take it to any other country that is developed, they'll say, we buy it, we'll give you the money at 1% interest long term. Here you take it, they'll just laugh at you, say, where's your certificate of occupancy? Even if you bring that one, we're not interested in this thing. Banks are supposed to help people. And that is why in our country, in this country, up until very recently, you have a lot of people whose visions and whose vision has been shattered because they have not been able to raise the resources and the funding to support their vision and lift them up,
live their dream.
You hit the nail on the head. We need you on board to live their dream.
You see what's happening here. This is the first time I'm seeing this gentleman ever so calm. In all the interviews I've watched, It's always like something is chasing him. he has to get this point across. Is it after?
Honestly, I wish all the TVs could be like this.
Okay.
You know.
So, have you at any time, got on the bad nerves of some of your colleagues for